and welcome to World Talks on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. The European Commission has unveiled its Defense Readiness Road Map 2030, outlining how Europe must prepare for a potential conflict with Russia within the next 5 years. The plan includes 4 major flagship projects: a drone defense wall, an eastern flank watch, an air shield, and a space shield, aimed at closing key capability gaps. It comes as the EU urges faster defence integration and Poland secures the largest share of the bloc's €150 billion defence loans programme. Joining me now is Margaritis Schinas, former Vice President of the European Commission. Mr. Schinas, welcome to TVP World and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So before we kick off, there's a short soundbite that I'd like to share with you and our viewers, and then I'll get your view on that.
Russia has no capacity to launch an attack on the European Union today, but it could prepare itself in the years to come. Danger will not disappear even if the war in Ukraine will end. Drones are already redefining warfare. Having drone defenses is no longer optional for anyone. Today we propose a new anti-drone system to be fully operational by the end of 2027.
Right, so there we have the Kaja Kallas talking about Europe preparing to defend itself by she said 5 years to prepare for war. Now, given the fact that thus far the European Union has moved in a fragmented way, is 5 years a realistic timeline?
Yes, it is. Actually, what we're doing today is correcting an asymmetry, an imbalance. The amount of money we spend, if we aggregate the defense budgets of our 27 member states, is quite considerable. But the tragedy is that we cannot harvest enough protection on the basis of that money when we face a common threat. So this initiative is the first meaningful effort to Europeanize our defense thinking. Operationalize it, and add this European dimension which is necessary so that we are collectively ready to face what is now a very tangible and present threat, mainly from Russia, but not only from Russia.
Understood. Now, one might ask, well, okay, why has Europe allowed itself to be in this vulnerable position, such that it's now, scrambling to catch up? Were they relying on NATO? Were they relying on their individual military capabilities? Why wait to get a unified European military capacity?
Well, I think the biggest enemy of Europe has always been complacency and this feel-good factor. We are the European Union. We produced almost 20% of the world GDP. We have the biggest single market in the world. We have the second world currency of reference. What can happen to us? But I think this era of Europeans' innocence, or rather naivety, is over. In the last 5 years, I was sitting in the College of Commissioners, and I had the chance to witness firsthand how we had to respond as one after the other. All these illusions were shattered. We had to build a vaccines capacity. We had to build industrial capacity to produce masks and ventilators. We had to do microchip factories in Europe. We had to build in energy autonomy from Russia. And now we have to build a Europe of defense, which was clearly not in the policy mix. It's not optimal, I agree with you, but welcome to the European Union. That's how Europe works. We get the better out of us when we feel collectively the threat.
Understood. Okay, well, a couple of things. Many looking at this situation say, well, hang on, there's an overlap. Shouldn't NATO be protecting the EU? After all, most, if not all, European countries are members of NATO. What are we paying fees to NATO for?
This is true. And we very much hope that NATO would always be an effective umbrella that would guarantee the fundamental principles of the NATO Charter. But, it's something that we have to do ourselves for ourselves, because the threat is now imminent. It's in our continent, and we have to build an additional European capacity that would complement, would not compete against NATO, would complement NATO capabilities, and would add this European dimension, which is now more necessary than ever. So what we're doing today is adding a new layer of security, not replacing a deficit by NATO.
Understood. Now, the other challenge, of course, is countries like Hungary and Slovakia, who always tend to be out of step with the general direction that NATO, that the EU wants to go into. How much unanimity does the EU need to build up its defence, as we've just heard?
Look, if you take a closer look at the package that the Commission presented today, it's crafted in a very intelligent way that allows everybody to be on board and minimizing the risk of traditional veto blockage that we saw in other areas of policy, like foreign policy, for instance. What we are putting on the table today is a meaningful offer for everyone who would like to align the national defense thinking to this additional European layer. So it's not a directive, it's not an obligation, it's not a regulatory obligation for the 27, but it's a very enticing and appetizing, interesting offer that optimizes, maximizes their defense thinking. So whoever wants to be on board has a lot to gain. Whoever wants to stay out would have to explain to their people what do they get instead of joining or staying on the sidelines. So I'm very confident that this will work without any blockages.
Well, we shall see. We live in hope, although sometimes some countries do surprise us, do they not? Now, one of the pillars of this strategy is the Eastern Flank Watch. Now, Poland, amongst other countries on NATO's eastern flank, have been substantially reinforced with both personnel and military materiel. What else is the EU plan going to do?
First of all, let me say that we are immensely grateful to Poland, to our Baltic partners, to all the EU member states standing along the cleavage, the geopolitical cleavage at our Central Eastern external border. That's very important. They are doing the right thing, and we collectively stand by them. Now, I am Greek myself, and as a Greek, I need to share with you the feeling that this same sense of insecurity and the need for collective defense from Europe also applies to the southern flank, not only to the eastern flank of our union. So what we're doing today with this package is make sure that we address collectively, globally, the defense threats that we face, both at our eastern flank with a specific initiative, but also globally with the anti-drone initiative that is part of the 4 key actions. So the eastern flank, the eastern shield, would have, of course, the anti-drone capacity, but would have a lot more. Would have Eurofighters in Poland, would have possibility for additional resources, would have technological advances, cyber defense capabilities. So we will make sure that the member states that feel the pressure will get the most out of our collective capabilities.
Understood. Now, in the last couple of minutes that we have left, there's also a military mobility package involving over 500 projects to move troops and equipment across Europe. Now, this is going to be a massive undertaking, isn't it? Getting countries to align in terms of setting up their transportation infrastructure to make sure that this can happen. That's going to take ages, isn't it? I mean, again, going back to 5 years, it's not going to be long enough, is it?
Look, you are absolutely right. It is highly important, critically important, and you're also right when you're saying that this would not happen just like this. There is no military mobility button to push in Brussels and the whole thing emerges. This will take years of incentives and investment, but it's necessary and it will be done because we are focusing now our attention to priority projects for military mobility. We have determined specific corridors and projects that need to be financed so that our equipment, our tanks, our artillery, whatever is necessary, can actually transit through our infrastructure system. And in the proposal that the Commission has presented for the next 8 years budget, there is a specific provision for the first time of a sum about 28 billion euros that would be exclusively, specifically dedicated to financing the development of military mobility infrastructure, specific projects to facilitate mobility.
Understood. So the resource is there. Now it's just a question of how quickly we can put it to work. Mr. Schinas, thank you so much for taking the time to share your analysis with our audience. Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye now. And that brings us to the end of this episode of World Talks. Don't go away, though, lots more coming up. Goodbye.